Have you ever felt like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? Like every breath requires effort, every step forward feels impossible, and peace seems like a distant dream that belongs to everyone else but you? Tonight, millions of people will lie awake staring at the ceiling, their minds racing with worry, their hearts heavy with burdens they can't seem to put down. They'll scroll through their phones hoping to find something, anything, that might quiet the storm inside their souls. But what if I told you there's a place of perfect rest that's been waiting for you all along? What if I told you that the peace you've been searching for in relationships, in success, in achievements, distractions, has been calling your name since before you took your first breath? What if the very thing you need most isn't found in doing more, but in finally learning how to rest? My name is here to tell you about a rest so profound, so complete, that it doesn't depend on your circumstances, your performance, or even your to understand it fully. This isn't about taking a vacation or finding time to relax. This is about discovering the kind of peace that passes all understanding, the kind of rest that reaches into the deepest places of your heart and whispers, "You are safe here." Over the next several minutes, I'm going to walk you through not just what this rest looks like, but how you can experience it for yourself. We'll explore why so many people miss this peace entirely, what it actually means to find rest in Jesus, and most importantly, how this changes everything about the way you face each day. Because here's what I've discovered after years of searching. The rest your soul is crying out for isn't something you achieve, it's something you receive. But first, let me paint you a picture of what most of us are actually living with. Picture a woman who's been running marathons her entire life, but no one ever told her there was a finish line. Every day she wakes up and starts running again, faster and harder, thinking that somewhere ahead lies the peace she's looking for. She runs towards success, thinking that will bring rest. She runs toward approval, thinking that will quiet her heart. She runs toward control, thinking that if he can just manage every detail of her life, she'll finally be able to stop breathing in. But the running never ends, does it? Because what he doesn't realize is that the finish line isn't ahead of her, it's beside her. The rest she's been running toward has been walking with her every step of the way, gently calling her name, waiting for her to simply turn and see. This is where so many of us find ourselves. We've been taught that peace is something we earn, that rest is something we deserve only after we've worked hard enough, achieved enough, proven ourselves worthy enough. We've been conditioned to believe that our worth comes from our productivity, that our worth is measured by our accomplishments, that rest is laziness and peace is for people who don't have real problems. But what if everything you've been told about finding peace is backwards? What if the very effort you're putting into finding rest is the thing that's keeping you from it? What if peace isn't the reward for a life well lived, but the foundation from which a meaningful life flows? See, here's what changes everything. Jesus didn't come to give you another task to complete or another standard to meet. He didn't come to add more weight to the burdens you're already carrying. He came to take those burdens from you entirely. When he says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." He's not talking about rest as a reward and for good behavior. He's talking about rest as a gift for tired souls. Think about it this way. When a child is exhausted, scared, or overwhelmed, what do? They don't try to figure it out on their own. They don't create a plan or develop a strategy. They run to their father's arms or their mother's arms. They don't run because they've earned the right to be held. They run their love because they know. They don't run because they have solutions to offer. They run because they need someone stronger than themselves. This is the invitation Jesus extends to every person who's tired of carrying life alone. It's not an invitation to try harder or do better. It's an invitation to finally stop trying to be God in your own life and let the actual God be God instead. But here's where it gets really beautiful. This rest, this peace that Jesus offers, it's not passive. It's not about becoming inactive or disengaged from life. It's about discovering what it feels like to live from a place of security instead of striving from about learning a place of insecurity. It's what it means to work from rest rather than working for rest. When you find your rest in Jesus, something profound shifts in your perspective. The things that used to steal your peace lose their power over you. The circumstances that used to determine your emotional state become opportunities to experience God's faithfulness. The problems that used to overwhelm you become chances to watch divine strength work through human weakness. This doesn't mean your problems disappear or your life becomes easy. It means you're no longer facing those problems alone. It means there's a strength available to you that's greater than any challenge you'll ever encounter. It means there's a love surrounding you that's deeper than any hurt you'll ever experience. Let me tell you what this looks like practically. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning not with a list of things you have to do to prove your worth, but with the settled knowledge that your worth has already been established. Imagine facing your biggest fear not with the pressure to overcome it in your own strength, but with the confidence that you're held by hands stronger than any that are storm. Imagine approaching your relationships not from a place of neediness, trying to get from others what only God can give you, but from a place of fullness, able to love others because you've first been completely loved. Imagine making decisions not from a place of anxiety about the future, but from a place of trust in the one who holds your future. This is what it means to find peace in Jesus. This is what it looks like to discover true rest for your soul. It's not about escaping from life. It's about engaging with life from an entirely different foundation. It's not about avoiding difficulty. It's about having an unshakable anchor in the midst of any storm. And here's the most incredible part. This peace, this rest, this security that your heart has been longing for. It's not something you have to wait for. It's not something you have to earn or achieve or prove yourself worthy of. It's something that's being offered to you right now, in this very moment, exactly as you are. The question isn't whether you're good enough for this peace. The question is whether you're tired enough to receive it. The invitation isn't extended to people who have their lives figured out. It's extended to people who are exhausted from trying to figure life out on their own. So, as we continue exploring what it means to rest with Jesus, I want you to consider this. What would it feel like to finally put down the burdens you've been carrying? What would it look like to stop running toward peace and start resting in the one who is peace itself? Because that's exactly what we're going to discover together. What if I told you that the very thing standing between you and this peace isn't your circumstances, but your understanding of what peace actually is? Most of us have been searching for peace in all the wrong places, looking for it in the absence of problems, rather than in the presence of the Prince of Peace himself. See, we've been conditioned to believe that peace means having everything under control. We think peace looks like a perfect marriage, a stable job, healthy children, and a predictable future. We think rest comes when all our ducks are in a row, when every question has an answer, when every problem has been solved. But this kind of peace is fragile because it depends entirely on external circumstances that we can never fully control. But the peace that Jesus offers is radically different. It's not the absence of storms. It's the presence of the one who speaks to storms and tells them to be still. It's not the elimination of uncertainty. It's the assurance that you're held by hands that never shake even when your whole world is shaking. It's not about having all the answers. It's about knowing the one who is the answer to every question your heart could ever ask. This peace doesn't fluctuate with your bank account. It doesn't rise and fall with your health reports. It doesn't change when relationships disappoint you or when dreams don't unfold the way you planned. This peace is anchored in something so much deeper than circumstances. It's anchored in the unchanging character of God Himself. Let me share with you what this actually looks like in real life. There's a woman I know who received a devastating medical diagnosis. The kind of news that changes everything in an instant. The kind of moment where peace seems impossible and rest feels like a luxury you can't afford. But as she sat in that doctor's office, something extraordinary happened. Instead of panic consuming her, she felt an inexplicable calm settle over her soul. She later described it like this: "It wasn't that I wasn't afraid. It wasn't that I didn't feel the weight of what was happening. But underneath all of that, there was this solid foundation that couldn't be shaken. There was this voice that was louder than my fear, this presence that was stronger than my circumstances. I realized I wasn't walking through this valley alone. This is what happens when you've learned to find your rest in Jesus. The storms still come, but you're no longer tossed around by them. The waves still crash, but you're no longer drowning in them. You've found your anchor, and that anchor holds firm no matter what tries to pull you under. But here's what I want you to understand. This woman didn't achieve this peace through positive thinking or self-help strategies. She didn't earn it through good behavior or spiritual disciplines. This peace was a gift that had been available to her all along. The difference was that in her moment of greatest need, she finally understood how to receive it. You see, receiving the peace of Jesus requires us to do something that goes against every instinct we have. It requires us to admit that we can't manufacture peace on our own. It requires us to acknowledge that our best efforts at finding rest have left us more exhausted than when we started. It requires us to surrender the illusion of control and embrace the reality of grace. This is perhaps the hardest part for so many of us. We've been taught that strength means independence, that maturity means self-reliance, that success means being able to handle everything on our own. But the kingdom of heaven operates on entirely different principles. In God's economy, strength is found in dependence, maturity is measured by trust, and success looks like surrender. When Jesus said, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls," He was offering us a completely different way of living. A yoke, in His time, was a wooden beam that connected two animals so they could work together. But Jesus wasn't offering us more work. He was offering us partnership. Imagine being yoked to someone who never gets tired, never gets overwhelmed, never runs out of strength or wisdom or love. Imagine having all of your burdens shared by someone who is infinitely capable of carrying them. Imagine never having to face a challenge alone again, never having to figure out life by yourself, never having to pretend you're stronger than you actually are. This is the invitation that's being extended to you right now. Not an invitation to try harder, but an invitation to trust deeper. Not a call to do more, but a call to rest more fully. Not a demand for perfection, but an offer of acceptance exactly as you are in this moment. And here's what happens when you accept this invitation. You begin to discover what it feels like to live from a place of acceptance rather than striving for acceptance. You learn what it means to operate from approval rather than working for approval. You experience what it's like to move from security rather than searching for security. The anxiety that used to consume your thoughts begins to lose its grip. The fear that used to paralyze your decisions starts to fade. The shame that used to define your identity gets replaced by an unshakable sense of belonging. The weariness that used to characterize your days transforms into a supernatural energy that flows from divine connection. But perhaps most beautifully, you begin to see other people differently too. When you're no longer desperate for others to fill the voids in your heart, you're free to love them without agenda. When you're no longer dependent on their approval for your sense of worth, you can serve them without strings attached. When you're no longer threatened by their success or triggered by their failures, you can celebrate with them and comfort them from a place of genuine care. This is the ripple effect of finding true rest. It doesn't just change you, it changes how you show up in every relationship, every situation, every moment of your life. You become a person who brings peace rather than demanding it, who offers rest rather than requiring it, who gives security rather than seeking it. And the most remarkable thing is that this transformation doesn't happen through willpower or discipline. It happens through relationship. It happens through spending time with Jesus, learning his heart, experiencing his love, and gradually discovering that everything you thought you needed to find elsewhere has been available in him all along. The peace you've been searching for isn't a destination you arrive at after you've solved all your problems. It's a person you can know right now in the middle of your problems. This person isn't waiting for you to get your act together before he welcomes you into his presence. He's not standing at a distance with his arms crossed, tapping his foot until you prove yourself worthy of his attention. He's already moved toward you with open arms, already made the first move, already paid whatever price was necessary to make relationship with you possible. You see, most of us approach God like we approach everyone else in our lives. We assume we need to impress him, perform for him, convince him that we deserve his love and attention. We think we need to clean ourselves up before we can come close, fix our problems before we can ask for help, get our lives together before we can experience his peace. But here's what will absolutely transform everything about how you understand rest. God loves you most when you need him most. He draws closest when you feel furthest away. His grace shines brightest in the darkest moments of your life. The very weakness you think disqualifies you from his presence is actually what qualifies you for his compassion. So here's my invitation to you right now, in this very moment. Stop trying to earn what's already been given. Stop running toward what's already beside you. Stop searching for what's already calling your name. The rest your soul has been crying out for isn't found in changing your circumstances, but in changing your understanding of whose arms are already holding you. Jesus is offering you his peace right now, not because you've proven yourself worthy, but because you are worthy of love, simply because you exist. The question isn't whether this rest is available to you. The question is, Are you ready to receive it?